Okay, everyone, we thought we'd give you a little bit of a rundown. SBF officially had his bail hearing, and some of the results are just genuinely stunning. We had to go through all of this with you. CoinDesk had a reporter inside the actual courtroom while this was all going down. Sam Bankman-Fried said a couple of things. Number one, he will not be waiving his right to fight extradition to the United States. Not a surprise. And apparently, according to our own Matt Stoller, partner here at Breaking Points, extradition through the Bahamas can literally take years. So it could set up a major fight. However, some of the other instances in the courtroom were really just shocking, odd. A police officer brought a Ziploc bag of Bankman-Fried's belongings, including, quote, medication. The judge asked if he needed water to take it. He said, "I don't need water, but I need to take off my shirt." The judge then said, "Well, I guess you can't take your shirt off in court," before allowing him to leave the room, take his shirt off. Apparently, he was very jittery as he was walking into the courtroom, and is currently taking an antidepressant patch type of medication. At the same time, Bankman-Fried's parents were actually seated in the third row, and they were also behaving very strangely. Quote, "They appeared to oscillate between dejection and defiance, at times holding their heads in their hands and clasping. Bankman-Fried's mother audibly laughed several times when her son was referred to as a fugitive of justice, and his father occasionally put his fingers in his ears as if to drown out the sound of the actual proceedings." Now, in terms of bail itself, he was eventually denied. His lawyers were arguing that he was not a flight risk, and their basic argument, Crystal, was that, well, he could have fled at any time, so now that he is charged, he's not going to flee. Not a particularly convincing one, but of course it comes on the heels of, and one of the reasons why I want to do this segment, the bail hearing happened after the Department of Justice unsealed its actual complaint against Sam Bankman-Fried, or its indictment of Sam Bankman-Fried, which is pretty damning and includes some pretty serious campaign finance allegations.
Yeah, so we yesterday on the show were able to cover for you the civil charges filed by the Securities Exchange Commission that included, details of his alleged fraud scheme, which started at the very beginning of FTX and has been ongoing for years. After we got off the air, we also got a look at the criminal charges filed in the Southern District of New York. And those are the ones that include, wire fraud, which we expected, but we didn't necessarily expect there also to be some pretty serious allegations here of campaign finance fraud. I'm going to go ahead and read to you a little bit of a CNBC write-up of that charge against him. They say he diverted FTX customer funds to donate to political campaigns, according to authorities. They go on to say that he appropriated tens of millions of dollars of customer funds to make illegal political donations to both Democratic and Republican candidates. Basically, the allegation here, Sagar, is that he was not only using straw donations in order to donate more than the allowable max. He was also apparently, and we knew this gets into his whole brand building and PR attempts, publicly, and what was disclosed was that he was donating almost exclusively to the Democratic Party. He had admitted in an interview at one point that actually he was also donating to Republicans. He just knew the media wouldn't like that. And so he was trying to keep his golden boy image facade. And he knew if he was donating to the Democratic Party, the media would see that as good and virtuous. Whereas if he was donating to the Republican Party, they would see that as evil and nefarious, which is very revealing about our media. It's very revealing about a whole host of things. But essentially the allegations are here using straw donations to exceed the legal maximum limits, also making illegal corporate contributions, and critically, stealing customer money in order to fund this illegal political influence empire. So these are very serious, these are very serious charges. I think we all had a lot of questions about whether some of this was going on, knowing how much he was just using customer funds for his own ends. And now we have officially, at least according to the government, that is exactly what he was doing. He was basically breaking campaign finance law in every way that you can possibly break it.
Yeah, so having read now the SEC complaint and the indictment, I can put these two things together. What he was doing was diverting customer funds to Alameda, the private hedge fund of which he had an ownership stake on. He was then taking loans based on these assets, which again are stolen customer assets, which he was able to originate to himself. He was then taking, quote, tens of millions of dollars. That's what the that's what the prosecutors are alleging. Tens of millions. This isn't just some measly little donation. And then using straw donations via his cutouts and his executives to Republican groups and to other affiliated political action committees. So what they say in the indictment is he was, quote, knowingly and willfully making contributions to candidates for federal offices, joint fundraising committees, and independent expenditure committees in the names of other persons, aggregating to $25,000 or more in the calendar year in violation of U.S. law. And that is probably one of the most explosive allegations here because it raises the question. Who are the people getting the straw donations to? Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things I have raised is that we should not forget that the 10th largest GOP donor was actually SBF's henchman at FTX, raising the question then of were those straw donations directed by SBF as some sort of concerted campaign to influence both public opinion and public policy. So we are seeing a this might be one of the most sophisticated, I really think, Crystal, this might be one of the most sophisticated money laundering and campaign finance violations that we will have seen in modern American history. I can't really think of an illegal enterprise that was being used to fund political action campaigns, political candidates then on both sides more than this. So it's a massive conspiracy from what we've seen so far.
And to go back to the brand building piece of this, a lot of the money that he spent in with the Democratic Party was in these Democratic primaries. So, for example, he spent heavily against Nina Turner's opponent in the Democratic primary, and his claim was always, this isn't actually about crypto. This isn't about getting anything for myself. This is all about pandemic preparedness. That's what I really care about. And the government makes it clear they're not buying that whatsoever, that this was all a political influence operation to secure his own beneficial regulatory regime at a time when authorities were increasingly looking with scrutiny at FTX specifically, but the crypto industry more generally, at the time when there was this kind of turf war going on between the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, which was seen as being willing to take a sort of heavier hand with the crypto industry, versus the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, which is, basically has less funding behind it and less teeth in terms of their ability to regulate. So he was on the side of wanting the easier, softer group, the CFTC, to regulate the industry, right, which makes all the sense in the world in terms of just, his ability to continue to escape any kind of scrutiny. The other piece of this that I will not stop bringing up is, you mentioned, who are these people? And the other question with that is, what actions did they take? Not just with regards to regulating the crypto industry and what they were advocating for, but in terms specifically of putting pressure on the SEC and other regulatory bodies to not look and investigate what the hell was going on at FTX. That's the piece that that's the thread I want to continue to pull on, because there are already indications that there were politicians who were putting pressure on enforcement bodies to keep them from digging into the empire of fraud that Sam Bankman-Fried had built up. Those politicians are on both sides of the aisle. So that's the piece that I'm going to keep a close eye on, because this scandal could be a lot larger than just Sam Bankman-Fried.
Right. I think the great fear is they just try and pin it on him. And he is just the tip of the iceberg here. There's a lot of corruption yet to be revealed. And personally, I'm hoping that we have our own EU-style parliament raids in the Capitol to go and find every single one of these guys to see if they knowingly did and take his money before they signed letters on his behalf trying to get it regulated by the CFTC. And you know what the great irony is? He was sued by the CFTC just yesterday. Too perfect.
Unbelievable. Also, a little side note, cameo appearance over here from Salem.
Oh, hey, Salem.
Kyle and I's.
My cat is
Kyle and I's
havoc over here.
New little baby.
Well, we love to
Anyway,
see it. We're pro cat. We're pro dog here.
yes, indeed. Yes, we are. I guess we're both a one cat and one dog household, huh? There you go.
There you go.
There
That's
you go,
true.
guys.
Yeah.
All right. We love y'all. We'll see you back in
Solidarity
the studio tomorrow.